Hi everybody, Matthew Turnage here. Before I get into this week's topic, I just wanted to say in the last 6 weeks or so, the channel has really had a big surge in growth that I'm very appreciative for. I started this channel 9 months ago, and at the time I thought it would just be a fun way to sort of join the conversation with other YouTubers out there whose channels I enjoyed beyond just commenting in the videos. I started this thinking if I ever got 100 people who were interested enough in my videos to subscribe, that would be a wild success. And as of this video, we're getting close to 200 subscribers. So it's grown beyond what I expected by this time starting out. So thank you to all the people who've chosen to subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate that. And for those who may not subscribe but are watching anyway, thank you for watching. It's all appreciated. Today's topic, I thought I'd talk about some of my favorite covers of Beatles songs. Of course, the Beatles are some of the most successful songwriters of all time, so naturally many other artists have wanted to cover their songs from time to time, and there are a lot of great versions of a lot of great Beatles songs out there, but I just thought I'd talk about 5 that are my personal favorites. And these are in no particular order, just I don't know if I could rank them 1 to 5. I enjoy them all for different reasons, but these are, I would say, my top 5. So I'm going to start off with Aerosmith. In 1987, their Permanent Vacation album, they covered the Paul McCartney rocker I'm Down. Aerosmith was one of the first bands that, well, they were the first band that I really seriously got into. Prior to really getting into them with Permanent Vacation, especially the next album, Pump, I was a pretty casual music fan. Would watch some MTV now and then, maybe buy a tape every once in a while if there was something I particularly enjoyed. But in terms of like buying albums constantly and just really listening to music a lot and really enjoying it and getting passionate about it, that first happened for me with Aerosmith. And so the 3 Beatles songs that Aerosmith covered, actually had not heard the Beatles originals when I heard those songs. I knew the Beatles, I knew the hits that you hear on the radio, but the 3 songs they covered, which Come Together, was actually a hit for Aerosmith. I'm Down, as I mentioned, and then also they did a version of Helter Skelter. In all 3 cases, I had not heard the Beatles version, even though I was familiar with the Beatles somewhat. I'd never heard the Beatles originals when I heard the Aerosmith versions. In all 3 cases, Aerosmith is fairly faithful to the originals, and that's something that's going to be different from these other covers on the list. But it was an early introduction to some of the Beatles' more rocking material for me. You know, like I said, I knew, I Want to Hold Your Hand, I knew Hey Jude or whatever, but I'd never heard songs like I'm Down, and I didn't know the Beatles at that time when I was 12 or 13 or whatever. I didn't know the Beatles rocked out like that, and it's a great version. Of course, it's got slightly more edge being Aerosmith, but even down to the guitar solo, they're very faithful to it. Love Steven Tyler's vocals on it. Again, Joe Perry delivers a faithful but really kicking guitar solo, and it's a great version, a lot of fun. So there's the first of my 5. It's I'm Down. It's covered by Aerosmith on their Permanent Vacation album. Next up is another band that's a longtime favorite of mine, and I've talked about that on the channel some before, and that's going to be Deep Purple from their debut album Shades of Deep Purple, where they did a cover of the John Lennon classic Help. Help was actually released as a single for Deep Purple. Did pretty well for them. Not as well as their version of Joe South's Hush on this album, which went all the way to number 4 in the US. But Help was a regular part of their set list in these days. They played a lot on various TV programs and things like that. And Deep Purple, if you're not familiar with them, here in the very earliest stages of their existence, one of their big influences was Vanilla Fudge, and they kind of take sort of a Vanilla Fudge-esque approach to Help. It's big and dramatic and kind of bombastic. And the drama of their rendition, I feel like they took that approach with that particular song, trying to put together a sound that might more closely convey the emotion of the lyrics. You know, John has talked about how, you know, he had to write this song for a movie soundtrack. The movie was called Help, and they needed something for the title sequence. So it's, you know, kind of an upbeat, bouncy kind of music. But he was saying, I really wanted help at that time. I needed help. You know, the words were honest. So they take an approach here that if you were to just read the lyrics, might be more along the lines of what you might think a song like that would sound like. Simon Robinson, the Deep Purple expert, mentions in his liner notes to their second album, the Book of Taliesin, which has a cover of We Can Work It Out, which is not nearly as good as their cover of Help. But he mentions in there that reportedly Paul McCartney had said that he liked the Deep Purple arrangement of Help that's on this first album. And I've never been able to find a source for that. It'd be interesting to know if it's true. I would assume that Paul probably was at least familiar with Deep Purple, because he did, of course, recruit their drummer Ian Pace to play on Run Devil Run 30 years later. But anyway, that's another favorite of mine from Deep Purple, their cover of Help. Third one up is from around the same time, so 1969. We're going to go with Yes, their debut album. They do a version of Every Little Thing. Now, their approach to it is somewhat similar to how Deep Purple approached Help, just in the sense that it's a bigger, more dramatic type arrangement. Going for more of an epic feel, of course. Now, Deep Purple was not really a prog band, but in that original Mark I lineup, they did have some sort of proto-prog type aspects to their music. Just as Yes, of course, Yes is known as one of the great prog bands of all time. At the time of their debut album, of course, that type of music is just forming, so it's not a whole lot different necessarily than something that you might hear on the first Deep Purple album at points. And I feel like their cover of Every Little Thing is the same thing, where it's kind of again, more expansive, much more dramatic take on it. But it's a fun version. I kind of like how they come up with it, and the guitar work in there. Actually, there's a fun little bit at the beginning of it, just before they start into the lyrics, where they quote the guitar riff from Day Tripper just one little time through the lick, and then going on into the song. But then, of course, with John Anderson, you've got some great vocals on here, and Chris Squire backing vocals, and nice big sound, and it's a fun, interesting take on the song. Just for something a little bit different, and it's also not a song that you would necessarily think of, whereas Help was a big hit for the Beatles, and you would expect that to be covered. Every Little Thing, great song, but not a big hit. I kind of also appreciate when people cover some of the deeper tracks. Same with Aerosmith with I'm Down. That was the B-side to Help, so it was a pretty well heard record, by people who bought the singles, but not the big hit that Help was. All right, next up is actually a cover of a George Harrison song, and that's going to be Stevie Ray Vaughan's version of Taxman. Stevie Ray recorded it in the late 80s for a project that never happened. According to the liner notes here, this is Stevie Ray Vaughan's Greatest Hits. According to the liner notes, Michael Jackson was looking to put together some sort of animated project based on the Beatles songs that he had the publishing rights to, and so he was getting some artists to, submit some covers of Beatles tunes. And Stevie Ray did a version of Taxman. It remained unreleased until this Greatest Hits album came out in '95. And it's a really good version. It's very much Stevie Ray. It's very bluesy. Of course, killer guitar work throughout, as you'd expect from Stevie Ray. One of the things that really makes his version of Taxman interesting, though, to me, is his vocals, how he sings it. There's, as you know, the lyrics are sort of, it's the first person of the tax man talking. I'm the tax man. Let me tell you how it's going to be. It's 1 for you and 19 for me. And his reading of the lyrics is very kind of sleazy. You kind of get the feeling, the tax man, his sort of scumminess really comes across in how Stevie Ray sings the lyrics. So it's a great version. Actually, I did say in the earlier video I did talking about George's Beatles tunes that I actually kind of think Stevie Ray's is just a little bit better than the Beatles original. That's the only one of these that I would say may be better than the Beatles original. It's a lot of fun. I love that one. Last up, this one I don't have the original album from. I just got a Greatest Hits album, but Wilson Pickett, his 1969 cover of Hey Jude. It's actually he did put out an album called Hey Jude, but I've got it here on this Very Best of Wilson Pickett compilation. I love Wicked Pickett. That was another one of my big early musical influences around the same time as I was starting to discover stuff like Aerosmith. I was also watching Blues Brothers just about every week on either TBS or WGN. It seems like they'd rotate between the two of them. You could catch that movie every week. They're in the late 80s. But that sort of introduced me to a lot of the kind of soul and R&B stuff like Sam and Dave and Wilson Pickett. And so anyway, as I got into Wilson Pickett a little bit, and then I heard his version of Hey Jude when I got this compilation, and it is awesome. He definitely puts his own spin on it. It's got a great backbeat and very kind of soulful bluesy kind of take on it. Duane Allman was the session guitarist on that session and plays incredible guitar throughout. In fact, I read somewhere it was suggested that it was Clapton hearing Duane Allman play on Wilson Pickett's Hey Jude that prompted Clapton to seek out Duane Allman for Derek and the Dominoes. But I don't know if that's true or not. But nevertheless, it's such an awesome version, and Wilson Pickett is a great vocalist. He sings it incredibly well, and what I like also about his arrangement, where he kind of puts his own spin on it and doesn't stick with the original. Of course, one of the best and most memorable features of Hey Jude, the original version, is that extended coda with the na 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 na, that whole bit. Wilson doesn't do that in his version. When he gets to the coda part, he lets loose one of those great Wilson Pickett screams, and then you've got the horns. There are horns throughout. The horns play in instead of the na-na singing, they play this little lick. It's like da 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 da, and it's really cool. It sounds a lot cooler than me singing it. The way the horns swing, I love those horns, and it's just and then you have Duane Allman soloing along through that section. It is great stuff. So if you've not heard Wilson Pickett's version of Hey Jude, do yourself a favor and check that out. So those are 5 of my favorite covers of Beatles songs that other artists have done. Other than Aerosmith, like I said, the rest of them really put their own spin on things, although I do appreciate the Aerosmith version for its faithfulness to the original too. So what are some of your favorite covers of Beatles songs? Do you prefer ones that sort of stick to the original arrangements, or ones where they really sort of make it their own? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.